everyone, welcome to my channel. This is going to be a video about the different stages of consciousness development in specifically men. And this is mostly taken from books called Keys to the Kingdom and The Amazing Development of Men by Alison Armstrong. And these levels are really useful for both men and women to know either where you're at as a man, but also for women to understand where their man is at or what kind of man they would like to be in a relationship with, and to be able to identify where that man is to avoid any disappointment down the line. So Alison Armstrong talks about the stages in terms of royalty names. So when a boy is young, then he's called a page, and pages are young boys who really love to play. They're very adventurous, and the page's ambition is to become a knight. And knight starts in puberty and goes into the 20s. And here there's even a level up of adventure. There's a lot of passion and zest for life. And when males are in this stage, they are often open to being in relationships with a female, but they are going to be seeking someone who is a playmate and an adventure mate, and they're not likely to be able to become too serious. If a man is in this stage and happens to become a father, they may not be the most reliable of fathers, but they will be very, very fun. So then what happens is the guy moves into an early prince stage. There are 3 stages within the prince phase, and in the early prince stage there's this realization, either all of a sudden or over a period of time, that there are later phases than him, and that men in the later phases have so much more in their lives. They've got their lives together, and there's this sudden realization of, I'm not there, and I need to do all this stuff in order to get there. And this stage can last either a few minutes while they have this sudden realization that they need to get their life together, or it can last 10 years where they're just more or less not all that serious about committing to a career and really building this kingdom that she talks about in the book. When this phase is over, once he's realized that he needs to get his life together, he'll move into the middle prince phase. And here, this phase lasts between 10 and 13 years, and this is when the man is really building his kingdom from the ground up. And there are 2 types of middle prince. One type will want to go it alone and really needs all that space and to feel like he's fully ready before he can commit to a partner. But another type of middle prince will see that there are some benefits for him in having a partner to go on that journey with. During this phase, they're unlikely to really have all that time for the relationship. They're going to need some support. They're going to need a lot of reassurance and affirmation that they're doing a good job, and even though they can't necessarily provide all that wealth financially during this stage, that there are lots of other ways in which he can provide. So a nice secure home in some way, or to do jobs around the house, or to help their partner out in certain ways. And after this 10 to 13 years, he'll move into a stage called late prince. And this is a short phase, but it's really a time when the man feels he's really leveled up in his confidence, and he feels established, and he feels a lot more calm and comfortable, and he's got more time for his family and other things. So in general, men in all these prince stages don't have all that much time for their children because they're really busy building their kingdom. So what happens after late prince is a really interesting phase, and in the book she calls it the tunnel. In society, unfortunately, we sometimes call it a midlife crisis. This is actually a really necessary, important stage that a man has to go through in order to move out of the prince levels. So during this time, and it can last between 6 months and 3 years, he is going to be delving into this real darkness He's going to be questioning everything because he needs to move from a place of having somewhat of a shaky foundation and still feeling quite young, and to feel solid. And in order to do that, everything is in the air, and it takes that time for those things to fall back down and feel a lot more solid and really ingrained in him. During this time, he's going to want to distance himself from everybody that's close to him, except his children normally, and including his wife. And I think this is why we call it a crisis in our society, because it is more of a crisis for the woman that he's with, because it can feel very lonely and she can feel quite pushed away. And during that time, it's really important that she understands that it's not personal to her, and that this time is really, really important to him, however long it takes, in order for him to move up onto the next stage. So during this time, a woman can really be more of a friend and a sounding board for him, because also his sex drive may change, it may reduce, it may go up, and he's going to be acting differently in certain ways. And it's really important that she doesn't give him advice, but that she's just there really for if he needs her to be. And then what happens when he goes out of the tunnel, if he's lucky enough, because a lot of men don't make it out of the tunnel, they actually just go back into that late prince stage, and they never fully mature. And I guess a lot of that is to do with that society is really not set up to cater for this transitional period while that man's in that cocoon, and there's not a lot of support, and especially if the man doesn't have that support around him in terms of his friends, then he won't make it out of the tunnel. But if he does, then he'll be able to go into this king energy. And in the book she says that the cake is baked. So in this stage there's no changing a man. He feels very solid in his beliefs and his views on the world, and he uses the phrase a lot, I'm interested in, or I'm not interested in. And he will only do things that he's interested in, and if he's not, he's not going to do it, and there'll be no budging him. He's got a lot more time for his family during this time, his children, and he just has this air of solidity and strength. And during this time, he's at a point where he really just requires a lot of admiration from his woman and his family, and that if she's not already practicing receiving and being in her feminine, it's really important that she does this during this stage, even more so because he's really at a place now where he has got so much more to give everybody around him. So that's the different stages, and feel free to comment if you've been able to identify in which stage you are in as a man, or if you're a woman and it's helped you make sense of where your guy is. I know when I first read this book a number of years ago, it made me think that I just wanted to find this king energy, and that I wasn't really willing to be available for anything less. But actually, in the book, she talks about how, yes, the kings have a lot more time availability for helping to raise children and to give to his partner, but it can be really magical also to grow through the prince stages with that man, as we as women also grow in consciousness, and to go through those phases of adventure and building the kingdom together. So it's really a matter of preference. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.